I'm a relatively new recruit in the area of professional learning and reward and recognition for staff. And the co-head of my department, Natalie Brown, is my clicker girl today, which is nice, and is here to co-present with me about a new peer professional learning program that we have. We're just about to implement the pilot of it this year, and I'm going to talk to you about it today in the context of it being a model for building excellence in our institution. It was an encouraging comment that Susie spoke of this morning, talking about those institutions that tend to do really well in the awards and grants area being those that have a mentor program. So it's perhaps really timely for UTAS to be engaging on that level and using some of the past successes that we've had with programs like the PASS program, which many of you would be familiar with, and adopting the approach and transposing it to the staff context. So while I can't report on any outcomes of the program, I just want to describe the reasons behind doing it and perhaps some of the steps we've taken to get the pilot implemented. So I'm not going to go through every point on the slides we can all see, but in short, and to perhaps preface this, UTAS has just redesigned or revised the approach to awards and grants, and we are following a pathway process which does mirror what happens at the national level as well, and we're just rolling that out as this year commences with some great successes and some little bits that we need to tweak. But as Susie said this morning too, it's a good approach to have one that mirrors the national level awards pathway. So we're doing that. Obviously what we want to do is have staff focus more on a broadened and long-term engagement with the Scholarship of Learning and Teaching rather than a one-stop shop. I'm going to apply for my award and I'm going to get my award and then that's the finish of my engagement with awards. So what we're trying to do is increase opportunities for an engagement with professional learning as a part of their the development of their teaching practice. As I said before, we want to use the successes that we've had at UTAS from the PASS program and the development of the UTAS peer learning framework to enhance learning and teaching at UTAS. We want to extend some of the research around mentoring, which I think traditional models have been very much an experienced member of staff would be the mentor and the mentee would be a more junior member of staff. And there's not a great deal of research out there about the benefits of group-based and perhaps peer-led mentorship programs, which PPLP or Peer Professional Learning Program for Awards is adopting. So that's another part of our rationale. Previous feedback from the ALTC, or the now OLT, about award applications has touched on things like we want to see a much more robust level of evidence that you're using in your award applications. The depth and breadth of that evidence needs to correlate to the selection criteria that you're planning to address. Instead of just a focus on your own individual teaching philosophy, we want to see a much more broader engagement with the Scholarship of Learning and Teaching. And we've tried to operationalise teaching excellence and what an outstanding application looks like. So throughout the time of rolling out this pilot program, we're hoping to get a better understanding of what an outstanding application looks like and how we can talk about outstanding teaching practice in a way that compels your assessment panel to reward you with a teaching award. So the key objectives are to obviously build excellence in learning and teaching, to provide opportunities for professional learning for staff, to provide an avenue for staff to obtain really clear and consistent advice about what makes a quality award application, to develop capacity for staff to provide more meaningful peer review of other peers' applications, and to build the base of people from which we can ask to provide future mentor relationships and opportunities for staff moving their way along the awards pathway. As I said before, we want to build on and extend the successes of peer learning framework that we've had implemented at UTAS through the student learning and mentorship programs and adopt that for the staff context. and we have quite an emphasis on communities of practice and community of practice initiatives to sort of complement learning and teaching at UTAS as well. So there's obviously some opportunities to gather together our peers and the people that are participating in this program to sort of carry on some work or elements and parts of that award writing process perhaps, and engaging in some scholarship opportunities as time goes on as well. So the process that we've followed so far, in 2011 we requested or invited some very experienced members of staff at UTAS to become our first round of mentors. They're very engaged learning and teaching practitioners at UTAS, and Natalie and I were talking earlier about the level of professionalism that they have to really help us evaluate whether this approach is working, and to sort of conduct really dynamic conversations with the peers that are in their mentor groups to make sure that we're guiding the program in the right way. We provided some mentor training for those people, which was fantastic. We invited Peter Hill from the University of South Australia to come and give us some advice on what makes an outstanding application, and we touched on the types of sessions that they might choose to run or customise for their peer groups as well. This year we're obviously applying for ethics because we'd like to write up our results, and as many of you would know, writing an award application is quite a vulnerable space for people, and writing about what they do well comes as a foreign activity to them. So we're supported by the ethics program. We're piloting the program, as I said, so we are thinking at this point that what we'll do in future years is, instead of having a program that all sort of peer groups are doing the same thing, that some people that are registered for the program might just be writing an award application at the level of teaching merit certificate, so we'd probably just have a dedicated group for those people rather than having a mix if the numbers grew and our registrants told us that that's what they wanted to do.
Is that a kind of a faculty thing, a teaching merit certificate?
It is, yes.
So it's the first level, so there's the teaching merit certificates, which are essentially at faculty level, and then there's the Vice Chancellor's Awards, which are citations, internal citations in teaching excellence, and then the UTAS.
Yep. So we invited the participants for the pilot of the program are obviously people that were nominated for a UTAS Teaching Award. We are allocating up to 5 participants with each of the mentors, and we've just gone on a first investor basis, and we are fully subscribed for the pilot, which is encouraging. The sessions are rolled out over 4 meetings that are agreed upon within the peer groups. Given that time is an issue for all academics, we want to hand over and empower those people to choose when they want to meet and how they want to meet, and hopefully that works for all of them, at least for 3 out of the 4 meetings. We're thinking they would last about 1.5 to 2 hours each, and we're very much encouraging those people to get together outside of those formalised meetings as well, and to read each other's drafts outside of the formal meetings. This very much, we're doing these between February and May, which fits into our timeline before the submissions for award citations due to the OLT and internally as well. As I said, the sessions are customised around the needs of the group, but they could cover topics such as the ones listed. And if we just go to the next slide, as part of our training for the mentors, we asked each of them to go away and do some homework. There were 2 days of training that we ran for them over the course of 2 weeks, and we wanted them to go away and sort of plan how they would conduct a session based on these key themes, and we just listed off a few questions that might have helped them to come up with some elements of the conversations they could lead, or activities that they could lead with the peers in their group. So I've just listed those as a way of demonstrating how we might develop content and share our ideas on getting some content together. This will be available on the website too, so if anyone wants to have a closer look or talk to me more about those, they can. Thanks, Natalie. So the resources are obviously program support from Awards, Grants and Fellowships team,
Which is Melody.
which happens to be me at the moment. There's another person who's actually on maternity leave. and of course I'm working very much in collaboration with the 4 mentors and another person who's since moved into a different department but has he's very experienced in PASS and in the idea of mentor groups in higher education. We have some limited funding. The amount of times I've heard the word restructure mentioned today, we've been faced with the same opportunities, and our funding resource base has diminished a little bit, but what we've tried to do is provide funding at least to put in some good hours for the mentor training, and each of the groups meeting basic costs like buying a coffee for the people to get them to come along. I think is actually very important, and if any of you have been involved in ALTC projects, catering for events was always very big, high on the list of priorities. And also to support research activities, we've offered some money for the mentors, and potentially some of the people in the peer groups to collaborate and to write up some of the results or parts of the program, and perhaps they could choose to employ a research assistant or someone to write a lit review, for example. So there's a little bit of money and resource there. And also a recognition event. So obviously it's an excellent opportunity for us to evaluate the program, to bring all of the peer groups together, but also to sort of recognise their contributions and thank them for being part of the pilot as well. And I must say that one of the biggest factors that we're kind of advertising, if you like, to the potential peers coming into the group is that this is very much a piece of evidence that they can use in future award applications as well, that they're engaging in peer professional learning programs and that they've made a contribution to sort of the scholarship of learning and teaching. So we hope that's a benefit for them. We have researched and sort of developed some guiding publications that we're thinking might help the process. So we've written a mentor guide and a participant guide. I think eventually they'll become one and the same, and that will very much provide information to the mentors about what we're telling the participants and vice versa. The session resources, so conversation starter cards and other kinds of resources that can guide the activities. There's a few really good journal articles on the awards writing process, which have been very successful in their use at UTAS for our awards workshop series as well. So those kinds of things we've put together. We obviously want to evaluate, and we need to write up reports for ethics, and of course putting together some publications and conference papers as well. So as the model for building excellence, we're hoping that this program will promote a really dynamic and vibrant learning and teaching culture at UTAS. The development of quality award applications at all levels of our awards pathway, both internally and at the national level. Obviously making a good contribution to the scholarship of learning and teaching, and particularly towards new understandings of mentor relationships in higher education that are just one-on-one, mentee, mentor, following that model. Obviously